Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right to the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards, fire up your fingers, and come join the conversation.
Hey everybody, this is The Right of the People. It is Friday, November 8th, 2019, and it's time to use the first to defend the second. I got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Michael Bloomberg had to change my entire show and just insert himself into my show as well as the presidential election process. Some bitch. Apparently decided he wants to, he doesn't own enough, so he figures he'll buy himself a political office now. But before we get into all that, I want to welcome my esteemed panel. We have, from Spoon's Tackle, Jason Spoon. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Mike.
Glad to hear. Glad you could join us this evening. Hopefully, we won't be suffering a lot of bandwidth issues. For those that haven't realized it yet, I am broadcasting this one in 720 instead of 1080 because I kind of want to save my bandwidth and whatnot for the important stuff. Instead of having the super awesome crisp picture, I figure we'll have a pretty darn good picture instead of crap because, yeah, because my super awesome eats too much bandwidth. So, yeah, I can actually see things now really well on the sound is no bueno. Son of a bitch. Let me change my microphone settings, and we will go from there, because I know what the issue is. Yeah, it's the voice meter output, so let's just go to this. Okay, now the sound should be a lot better. Hopefully this fixed it. Please bear with me, I'm listening. Okay, now the sound should be a lot better. There we go. Yep. Much better. My bad. I apologize. You know, hey, if you've been watching this show for any length of time, you understand that this is technical difficulties. It is nothing new. So, sorry. I guess when I'm going to have to edit that out. Yeah. Anyhow, Jason, thanks for coming around. Glad that you can make it. We have David Bowling, the kingpin himself. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Always good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Always, man. It was great to finally meet you in the flesh at the rally this past weekend, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was really awesome. I had a couple cool surprises. You know, when I first met up with Obnoxious, he was joking around about wanting to film it in slow motion, like, you know, the Gone with the Wind running across the field.
That would have been awesome.
That was pretty cool to see him. And then I stopped to, you know, we were in the middle of the crowd, and I was like, hey, I'm going to walk over here to this little fence and smoke a cigarette. So when I turned around and started walking, there's Rob D. And then, you know, that was one of the best parts for me, is being able to meet up with all the Gun Channel's crew and get to see Squibby again.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we have the irascible yet lovable Squibload with us. How are you, sir?
Doing all right.
Doing all right. Well, it was great to spend a little more time with you like we did at DC. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think overall the trip went really well, and I think that it was a really good learning experience for everybody. As far as you know, if we go back to DC next time they do this, you know, we've got a little bit more knowledge in our memory banks there to maybe, you know, make things a little bit better. Not that it was bad, but there's always room for improvement.
Oh, yeah, always. And we'll talk a little bit about the rally here today. I know other people have pretty much beaten it to death and, you know, talked about it ad nauseum, and people are probably sick of hearing about it already. But it was in the news this week, and I kind of have to talk about it. But before we get to that, I want to say hello to everybody out there in the chat here on the YouTube side. Gunpowder Beauty was indeed first. Thank you for showing up. Midnight Range TM was a close second. Guitar Man Pete, Seven Wonders, welcome, sir. Snob's Wife is out there. Let's see, who else? Bo Weevil, the gun-toting pacifist, Sandhill Shooter, David Campbell. Hi, David. How you doing? Southpaw RX. And that's everybody who has commented out there so far. So if you're watching this live, go ahead, leave a comment here on the YouTube side so I can say hi to you. If you're watching this on a replay, please shout out in the comments below and let me know you were there. So, wow. The big elephant in the room, and if you saw the thumbnail, Bloomberg, after tossing around the concept of making a presidential bid here in 2020, back in March he decided that he wasn't going to. And today he said, psych, changed my mind. He went ahead and filed in Alabama, whose deadline was today. Let's go ahead and do the El Swapo to that topic. I know. Please control the vomiting. It is CNN. My bad. So, from CNN Politics by Steve Brusk and Dan Merica, from 7:43 p.m. today, November 8th, 2019. Michael Bloomberg files to run in Alabama Democratic primary. Michael Bloomberg on Friday filed to run in Alabama's Democratic presidential primary in 2020. Representatives of Bloomberg submitted paperwork with the Alabama Democratic Party in Montgomery to put his name on the ballot for the Super Tuesday contest on March 3rd. A party spokesman said they are reviewing the paperwork. The reason Bloomberg is filing in Alabama is strictly because of the state's early filing deadline. The state's filing deadline is Friday, today. Bloomberg also plans to file in Arkansas's Democratic primary before the state's Tuesday deadline, Bloomberg spokesman Howard Wolfson told CNN Friday morning. Candidates for president hoping to be on the ballot in Arkansas must file before Tuesday, November 12th, according to the Arkansas Secretary of State. Wolfson said that Bloomberg plans to make that deadline as part of his possible 2020 run. Wolfson also told CNN in a statement that the former New York City mayor plans to skip the first 4 primary contests. If we run, we are confident we can win in states voting on Super Tuesday and beyond, where we will start on an even footing, Wolfson said in a statement that was first reported by the Washington Post. But the late timing of our entry means that many candidates already have a big head start in the 4 early states where they've spent months and months campaigning and spending money. We have enormous respect for the Democratic primary process and many friends in those states, but our plan is to run a broad-based national campaign and probably buy all the super delegates you can, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The move is the clearest sign to date that the former mayor is seriously considering following through with something he has been weighing for weeks. If he runs, Bloomberg would be embarking on a strategy that has never been successful, bypassing the first 4 states on a Democratic calendar. Party officials in Iowa and New Hampshire expressed disappointment over the decision, which was particularly curious given the influential role of independent voters in New Hampshire. Despite filing the paperwork in Alabama, Bloomberg is yet to make a final decision on a run, a Bloomberg spokesman told CNN on Thursday. Bloomberg's possible entrance comes as former Vice President Joe Biden's campaign struggles to break out of the Democratic field, and as Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, a liberal lawmaker who has railed against billionaires like Bloomberg, rises in the Democratic primary. A possible Bloomberg bid would be sure to dramatically shake up the Democratic primary process. Bloomberg has privately expressed concerns about the strength of the 2020 field, according to a person familiar with his thinking. And a Democratic strategist who has previously worked with Bloomberg said the former mayor is reconsidering his options, in part because of the outcome of this week's elections in Virginia, where investments from his gun control group helped Democrats win control of the General Assembly. A CNN Des Moines Register poll in March found out that Bloomberg was one of the least popular candidates considering running for the Democratic nomination. The poll found 27% of Democratic likely caucus goers viewed him favorably, compared with 38% who had an unfavorable view. Bloomberg publicly entertained a 2020 bid earlier this year, traveling the country to meet with voters and determine whether a run was possible. He told reporters during this public speculation that he was seriously considering a bid, to the point that he had decided he would self-fund a campaign, which he could do 100 times over, and that would just be pocket change. But Bloomberg decided in March that he would not run for president, even though he had been leaning toward it for months. Bloomberg, however, has begun to rethink that decision, in part because he does not believe any of the current candidates are positioned to defeat Trump. Now, there we go, folks. Michael Bloomberg wants to buy the presidency, because I think that the best way that he's going to have to do that is to buy the superdelegates at the Democratic National Convention. For those of you who don't know what that is, each state has delegates that vote as the primary, as the people vote in the Democratic primary. But the Democrats also have what they call superdelegates who can vote however the hell they want. That's how Hillary got the Democratic nomination the last time around, stole it from Bernie. I suspect that old Mikey Mike is planning to do that this time. What do you guys think? Discuss. Just feel free to chime in on it. And no, Midnight, you cannot be uncensored. You have to remain PG-13 talking about Joy Behar, because I probably feel the same way, and it's going to be difficult for me to remain censored on this one. Sorry.
Bernie was in on it. Bernie didn't get robbed or cheated. It was set up. Bernie knew it was going to happen. Bernie's just a snake, just like Hillary Clinton. But I don't know that Michael Bloomberg has as much recognition as people think he does.
He's got $54 billion. He can buy all the recognition he wants.
How many people know who Carlos Slim is?
Who?
Exactly. Carlos Slim was the richest man in the world for how many years? A guy from Mexico. The money doesn't make you well known like that.
No, but it can buy you publicity if that's what you choose. Did Carlos Slim ever try to buy publicity?
No. But what I'm saying is everybody knows who Joe Biden is. So when somebody that goes and starts looking for D's and, oh, Joe Biden, I know who that is, check. Yeah, that's the thing that Michael Bloomberg is going to have to get over. He's going to have to do like you said and soak up every second of every airtime all across the country to get people to know who he is. Which, once again, like you said, he can afford that 100 times over, and he's got nothing better to do.
Yep. This is the guy that limited the sizes of sodas you could buy in New York. This is the guy that took salt off the tables in New York. This is the guy that if he don't like it, you can't do it. And he wants to be the master of us all. No.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are looking for a master.
And that's sadly very true. That's the case. That is absolutely the case. Some people don't feel comfortable unless they have a boot on their neck.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary. I think he's just doing it for personal gain reasons. I mean, I think he's looking at it like, how much money can I make off of this?
Yeah, but people are saying the same thing about Trump. Oh, he's going to buy the election. He's got so much money. Oh, he's just doing this to help out his rich friends and make things easier on him because he's, a rich businessman. So, I mean, Bloomberg's got every right to do this. Him waiting till now is kind of a dick move, but if we're going to be afraid of rich people buying their way into office, and of course I know it happens, then we're going to be really afraid, because there are more millionaires and billionaires in America than anywhere else in the world.
Well, plus you got to remember that nobody talks about George Soros either. And he's older than Michael Bloomberg. He's got more money than Michael Bloomberg.
Bloomberg is like 77, I think.
Yeah, and Soros hates the United States and hates capitalism and hates democracy and freedom.
He sure done well by exploiting all of those things, though.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just like all the other hypocrites that think capitalism is the worst thing in the world, but that's how they make all their money. You know, the same thing. You know, all these. You know, Bernie Sanders talks about all these Nordic countries, which, just for reference, Sweden is not a socialist country. They're a capitalist nation. Period. And that's what people think is, oh, the Swedes are you know, socialist, and they've got all this money and they've got all this wonderful stuff going on. No, they're capitalist. That's why they've got all that stuff going on.
Hey, before I forget, I just want to point out that everybody should be watching The Closer at 10:30 p.m. on Sunday. It is the 100th episode. So, outstanding. Congrats, man. Keep flushing. Speaking of flushing, this next topic, what the hell? That is not what I'm... No. Stupid ads. Anyhow, this next topic demonstrates why I think you need to be able to defend yourself anywhere, anytime. Because help might not be coming. Coral Springs Police 911 supervisor watching Netflix during shooting call. Failures led to more than 30-minute delay in response. Coral Springs, CBS Miami. A Coral Springs Police Department Internal Affairs report provides a shocking snapshot inside the Coral Springs Police 911 call center on June 9th. The allegations in the report revealed the mishandling of a shooting that led to a more than 30-minute delay for officers to be dispatched and a supervisor who spent inordinate amount of time streaming TV shows and movies. According to the report, a woman called just before 7 p.m. to report that something just blew through her car, and she said that she wasn't sure if it was a bullet or something. The caller said something shot through the back window and hit the front windshield and almost hit her head. She said, "There's a hot metal piece still inside of the car that landed in her lap. It was possibly a bullet." Coral Springs police say the 911 call takers mislabeled the call, considering it a suspicious incident when it should have been classified as a shooting. In fact, the victim called 911 2 more times, including once to say that she was going to drive to the police department. During the second call, the caller was very upset and concerned that they may shoot again, as the call taker said that an officer will be out there as soon as someone is available. The victim's sister called once during a more than 30-minute span, saying that her sister called 911 and nobody came out. Ultimately, police determined that the time between when the first call came in to the time it was dispatched to officers is 34 minutes. Apparently, it must have been a good episode of whatever she was watching. The Internal Affairs report says the supervisor on duty that night, Julie Vidod, was preoccupied. The report says during the time of the incident, Vidod's workstation was logged on to Netflix. The report says a Hilary Swank movie was playing on her computer. Really? You're going to put somebody's life in jeopardy over Hilary fucking Swank? I should have made this person the moron of the week. Jesus. An analysis for this information suggests that the movie I Am Mother played for 1 hour 53 minutes at Vidod's workstation while the incident in question was occurring, the report says. Oh, well, maybe I might have to cycle that back. I started watching that, and so far what I've watched, that actually was a pretty good movie, so I might have to rethink it. I might put off dispatching a 911 call to finish that too. Maybe. Vidod told the Internal Affairs investigator that she was working on performance evaluations during that time frame. Vidod was investigated for 2 allegations: failing to supervise her employees and untruthfulness. Well, surprise. The police investigation determined that Vidod did work on evaluations at some point that night, but it's not entirely clear when. The Internal Affairs Sergeant David Kirkland said she may have confused the time frames that she was working on evaluations, and there's no evidence to show that Vidod intentionally lied to her boss, Kathy Liriano. However, it was determined that Vidod failed to supervise the employees who handled the call. The evidence conclusively shows that Vedad spends an inordinate amount of time conducting personal business on the computer, to include playing streaming TV and movies, the report says. Vedad admitted that movies are constantly running in the background, but she's not constantly watching movies, the report says. Vedad said that there's no way that she could have been sitting there watching a movie for 2 hours unless it was 3 o'clock in the morning. Ultimately, Vedad admitted her mistakes in dealing with the errors with the call. She also said, "I wish I would have caught it. So, I failed that particular call, and I hate that." Vedad is facing suspension, and when asked, she promised the internal affairs investigator that Netflix will no longer be running in the background at work. In fact, Coral Springs made that a new policy. In a statement, the department said the Coral Springs Police Department Communications Center policy has also been changed to prohibit any streaming of media services during their shifts. Coral Springs said the 2 employees who handled the initial calls were terminated. Coral Springs police say they arrested a suspect in the shooting and charged him with attempted premeditated murder. I suspect their IT guys are going to have a work order in soon to block Netflix and YouTube and anything else. All it takes is one jackass to just ruin it for everybody else. Wow, that's crazy, man. You know what you're not hearing, though? That the supervisor was fired. She should have been. I hope that eventually she is. I don't necessarily want to, call for someone's job, but that's just, man, that's beyond the pale, I think. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts?
When seconds count, the police are minutes away.
Yeah.
When seconds count, the police are minutes away. apparently 34 of them. It depends on what's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Guitar Man Pete says, and demonetized. Hey, trust me, Pete, this was demonetized from the second I started. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I do. Every single one of them gets demonetized.
They played a Dr. Squatch commercial before.
Oh,
I could,
really?
Jump in on my B channel. It's good soap, don't get me wrong, but,
I think their commercials are bullying. It's just cyberbullying.
I think it's time that we start calling for people's jobs. Every time something, you can go back to like the Steve Scalise shooting, and I'm not saying that us, but we're just talking about like the media and the general public. Is everybody wanted to come out as fast as they could and say, we're not blaming Bernie Sanders and Rachel Maddow for this. This was an individual person who did a bad thing. I think it's time to stop that. I think it's time that we start calling for people's jobs. I think it's time we start calling for boycotts. I think it's time that we start pushing back a lot harder on this than we're pushing back now. We're playing their game by their rules, and that's why we keep getting our faces kicked in.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's one of the tactics and rules for radicals. You find out what the opposition's rules are, and you make them play by it.
Well, they played us forever. They know that we're moral people, but they know that we have a conscience. They know that we have a nice fluffy pillow that doesn't feel quite as right when we do crappy things during the day and we finally make it to our bed at night. So they play us on that. I mentioned it the other day about voting strategically instead of voting with our conscience. You need to sit your conscience aside from time to time. And this is hard for me to say this. I'm not going to go into why it's hard, but just take it from me. This isn't like something that I'm just freely letting fall out of my face. We're getting beaten, and there's no reason for it. We have the numbers, whether nationwide. Now, a state like Maryland here, most likely I'm outvoted no matter what. But there's all kinds of other places all over the world or this country where we'll just say the left is beating us, and they're beating us horribly, and they're radically destroying our country and our foundation. And there's no reason they should be winning.
Well, you know what? Let's seg into this, because that's a perfect segue to talking about the rally. Those of us who were at the rally in D.C., first off, thank you to everybody who came. Awesome. The crowd there motivated and energetic. It was a great crowd. And it would have been an awesome rally if it were at a state level rally. But that was national. There was like between 1,000 and 2,000 people there. And for a national rally, that sucked. The speakers were awesome. I can't say enough good about them. There were several that made some very powerful, some who made some very poignant speeches. It was great stuff from everybody up there. Maybe not the Brady campaign guy, but you know, I'll leave my mind a little open on that. But otherwise, it was pretty good stuff. But it illustrates why Kingpin is absolutely right when he says that they're beating us. Look at Virginia. You know, look at that. That's a state that's flipping. Look at and Florida is slowly starting to turn anti-gun, and it's because we can't get our heads out of our asses. We can't agree with each other enough to work together. We're too busy disagreeing. You know, Maj had it right when he said that you know, we're too busy. We're throwing away our ballots via disagreeing with each other. And that's a shitty paraphrase of it. It's not the exact quote. Watch someone's video, my video, whatever, anybody's video of Maj's speech. And at the point where he talks about the fact that we're too busy disagreeing with each other and hating on this person and that person and you know, FUDs against the tacticals and the shotgunners against the concealed carriers and this and that and the other. We do not stand together and work together in the same direction because we're too busy tearing each other down because I don't agree with you, so screw you. Well, you know what? We can't go to that rally armed, so screw that rally. Nobody should go. Bullshit. That's wrong. Everybody should have went, even though we are disobeying an unjust law. We're demonstrating that we are law-abiding people and we're not what the opposition tries to claim we are, which is, woo, shout out, be friends, I ain't doing shit I don't want to do. That's what they say we are, and that's what you're showing that you are by having that attitude. Work together where you can work together. The goal is the same. You know, if you don't like the methods, well, as long as it's not working actively against Second Amendment rights, and it's working for Second Amendment rights, even if it's not the Hail Mary pass you want, get out there and help work for it. Get out there and help get the ball down the field. Work together where you can, and where you disagree, don't shit all over somebody. Because that's all that happened with this rally, and that's why there weren't that many people there. You know what? That's why we're losing. Apathy is our own worst enemy. And you know what? Maybe I was wrong when I said that about apathy. Maybe it's just it's our divisiveness and our inability to work together towards a common goal. Because I'm telling you what, Maj also said that they beef in private with each other, and they do. The antis, they beef in private. Together, in public, they show a united front, and they're winning, folks. In the court of public opinion, in the court, in the legislative process, they're winning because they always work together. We do not. That's why we're losing. And we're nowhere near revolution yet. We're nowhere near it. When they start rounding folks up and putting them in camps, then it's time to take the rifles out and go take to the streets. But until then, it's not. We're still trying to work this out without kicking off the boogaloo, because that's not something you want. I do not want at all to see my wife and my kids die or suffer the deprivations of a civil war yet. It's not necessary yet.
Get active doing the stuff that we're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Instead of sitting
that's
around
why.
in your mom's basement calling for civil war, get your ass out and start doing things so that we don't have to get there.
The turnout for Virginia on Tuesday.
Not saying you're in your mom's basement, Pete. I'm not going there. I'm just in general. That wasn't you in particular, dude.
Hardly anybody turned out to vote in Virginia. And all the people that turned out to vote were obviously Democrats. So sitting around not voting. You know how many people here in Maryland told me that they weren't going to vote in 2016 because Trump was going to lose anyway? I mean, it's outstanding. Not enough people that would have made Trump win, but
yeah.
Okay, well, we're not going to play just because we're going to lose, so I'm not going to play. Yeah, but what about all the other games that are on that little card? It's not just one. There's all kinds of other stuff on there that can go any which way at any time. There's all kinds of stuff that we have at our hands right now. Go and look up the walk away movement. After Budget's video is over tonight, type in on your little YouTube thing, #walkaway, and watch a bunch of those videos. And then go try to find where it's going the other way, where people are leaving, we'll say the right, the Republicans, the conservatives. It's not happening. There's all kinds of leftist liberals and crazies that are waking up, getting really woke, and understanding that what they're being fed is a bunch of nonsense. And they're coming over to normal thinking people. So once again, not only are we not outnumbered, but we're gaining people. But none of us are involved enough to do anything about it.
I think this thing about, people saying, oh, I'm going to stay home, my vote doesn't matter. We just went through a local election, and there was a couple important things on the ballot. And, stuff like our local fire levy, 54 votes. It swayed the decision on that for 54 votes. Lawrence Township had a school tax increase. I'm not kidding you. I have it saved on my computer. 2 people voted in that election, and both of them voted for the tax increase. Now, I didn't look up the population. I'm assuming it's, about 5,000 to 8,000 people, so it's a small town. But only 2 of those people went and voted, what they felt on that ballot. So 2 people determined the rest of the township's tax increase. So your vote does matter. You need to talk to your friends and family and neighbors and get them to get out and use their voice. That is your voice. Your votes are your voice.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of time between election cycles too. Go back. I don't care what you think about Fox News, and I don't care what you think about Tucker Carlson. But go back and watch one of the little clips he did today about the indoctrination going on in schools. And in the actual outline or rules or whatever that they're giving teachers is they say when a parent complains about them, you fight back as hard as you possibly can and don't accept any of their criticism for them indoctrinating your children. Kamala Harris wants a 10-hour school day. Why does she want the government to have your children for 4 more hours, 3 more hours every day? Because she thinks
time to indoctrinate.
Yeah, she says that it's because there's poor people out there that don't have proper daycare facilities and ways to take care of their kids. Yeah, I'm sure there is a very small amount, once again. But they keep a hold of your kids even longer and start pumping them full of all this nonsense, and things are going to change.
So with regard to the rally, I heard from 2 people today some interesting things, and I wasn't in a position to rebut at the time, and I'd like to rebut right now.
Go right ahead.
One person, very intelligent person. I respect their opinion. We don't always agree, but I enjoy the conversation with them. And they said that it was on a Saturday. Congress isn't in session on Saturday, so it was absolutely pointless. And to that, I say it wasn't for Congress. It was for us. I've gone to rallies on weekdays. I've gone to rallies on weekends. Yes, weekends are usually more conducive to getting the crowd out there. And I've noticed a difference. When you go on a weekday, you are going to be seen by somebody in that government building, whatever government building it is you're in front of it. You're going to be seen by the news media. When you go on a Saturday, you're going for all of us. Sometimes we need to get together and see that there are other people that are willing to do this sort of stuff to show that they're in the fight. And when you talk to somebody and they come from the next state or 2 states over or 10 states over, that really means something, that they would cross state lines to be a part of it. And yeah, sure, there is some networking going on. You get to meet people that you haven't met before, not just the stuff we do, but other people. Some of those speakers up there, they know of each other, but they don't know each other. They actually got to meet, shake hands, hug, whatever, and some of them are going to collaborate on stuff. Now, some of it is money and all that, okay, and that's a whole different discussion. But other stuff is trying to pool their resources to bring their audiences, closer together. And the more we're communicating with each other, even though if we have different agreements or different models or different paths that we take to get there, the more we're communicating, the more we're keeping everybody in the loop. I'm not here to change your mind. If you don't think going to a rally works, and that was the other person that said those rallies don't work anyhow. They don't accomplish anything. And if you don't believe that, then fine. You don't believe that. I've gotten into it with Patriot in the Dark, not like arguments, but just giving each other crap back and forth, because back in the day, I used to write letters to senators, okay? I used to do that sort of thing, and I got nowhere with it. So he's always, writing email. And it is something that you can do. And I'm not saying that you may not have a positive result from it. I've had so many negative results in the past. But what did I do? I wrote 2 letters this year, or was it last year? No, it was this year. I wrote 2 letters because he just wouldn't quit nagging me. Okay. And, they probably had no effect at all, but it doesn't really matter. The whole point is I got active, I got involved. And you say, well, if it doesn't matter, then why should I do it? No, that's just it. The more we do it, the more it's going to matter. If we're there on a Tuesday, Congress is going to see us. But if we're there on a Saturday, some people are so demoralized that they don't want to keep fighting. And, you talk about apathy. What about the people that have been fighting that are fed up and go, I'm done. I'm done. I did a video on take a break and come back to it, but just don't take a break too long because you won't come back to it. And that's something I found works for me sometimes. It gets very frustrating. So sometimes that's what those rallies are about. And it's not to say there's never anybody there on a weekend working, or that there's never a chance the news media might not be there. This rally was thrown together haphazard with, people that weren't used to doing up a rally and on a limited budget and limited time and limited. If they can put their egos aside and say, we can make it better next time, then use this as a learning experience, then that rally wasn't pointless. All the things that happened weren't pointless. The fact that we're discussing this, the fact that people are arguing over it. Okay, Mr. Big Channel on the West Coast who's got tons of money wants to go ahead and say it was pointless. Why didn't you jump in a plane and fly over there? You could afford it a lot better than I can. I traveled 12 freaking hours. Yeah, I carpooled, but I traveled 12 hours to get there. And I'm not the person who's going to say that if you weren't there, you don't have a right to say something. I think you do. I think your message might be not as well informed as us who went, but I do think you have a right to speak your mind. Just because we don't get along, at least we're talking about it. At least, and there may be some people to go, you know what? Maybe next time I should go. They went and nothing happened. There were nobody arrested, nobody got in fights, Antifa wasn't there, Moms Demand Attention wasn't there, blah, blah. Maybe I should go next time. And for the speakers that were there, if any of those speakers get invited back and they say, nope, the crowd wasn't big enough, I'm not coming back, it ain't worth my time, they showed their true colors.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes the infighting that we have, we got to call each other out on our BS, because if we don't, the other side will. If we don't police our own, the other side will. So there are, I don't agree with you on the whole unity thing. You guys have heard me talk about that crap before. But I have a twist on that I think is kind of unconventional. But I think you guys are entitled to your opinions. I'm entitled to mine. We're all entitled. Somehow or another, as long as we keep fighting, we're doing something. We're doing something. And I've said it before, Budget, you've said it before too. The fight will never end. If you think you can have one rally or one Supreme Court ruling, or elect one president or whatever it is, and stroke of a pen and Second Amendment is the law of the land, and deal with it, and we'll never have to fight again, you're lying to yourself. And if that's what you think, maybe you shouldn't be in this fight, because you're going to give up one day. You're just going to don't give up. And if rallies aren't your thing, then you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. What is your thing? What do you do? If you don't go to rallies, what do you do? And if you do it well. And if it's something I don't think is effective, it doesn't matter what I think. Do what you do, but be involved.
That's right. It's to me, it's not necessarily that we have to be completely unified, but lead, follow, or get out of the way. And that's the part of it. That last part is the important part. Get out of the way. Don't stand in my way. Just be, I'm trying to get to the same place you are. You don't like the way I'm doing it? You know what? Awesome. Great. You don't have to like the way I'm doing it. Don't put fucking roadblocks in front of me, though. And that's what a lot of people were doing. And that's what's got me a little bit angry.
You know how many stories are out there about one person complained? We talked about it around Halloween with the little child bride wedding dress at the Kmart. One person complained and Kmart took it down. The black pumpkins, one person complained about, and they got rid of the black pumpkins. That's a real thing. But then there's also when one bakery doesn't want to make a cake for a gay couple, a custom cake for a gay couple, 50 people show up and protest that place. So all we got to do is one effective time. If somebody gets in Budget's face, go back and look at that Antifa thing where those two old people were trying to cross the street, and those little young dirtbags were screaming and yelling and calling them Nazis, and nobody did anything except for sit back and film it.
I think that if I'd been there, the headline would have read "Antifa cuck gets knocked out."
What if the headline read Antifa jerk gets stared down by 500 people that were on the street, 50 people, 20 people? You don't even have to touch him. If 20 people saw that and then stood up and said, "If you make another move, we're going to snap you in half," they'd have gotten in line real quick and they'd have left and went and messed with somebody else until another 20 people stood up and said, we don't have to fight you. There's 20 people here that are guaranteeing that each and every one of us are going to stomp you in the face and carry you to the police department if you make another move. They'll stop doing that kind of stuff.
Yep. Absolutely right. Either that or natural selection will eventually run its course.
Yeah, but the problem with natural selection is today's technology makes it almost impossible to die.
Well, natural selection would run its course maybe with a little bit of assistance.
Much better. There you go.
Speaking of someone who would be a great candidate for assisted natural selection, this is a piece in Ammo Land by Dean Weingarten. Joy Behar calls for deception to confiscate guns.
One of the first they should not tell everything they're going to.
Well, it wouldn't be a news day if we didn't have something to report on from The View. Yeah, not a day goes by where those clucks there around that table don't have some bizarre insult or neocon apology or something from one of their mouths, or beaks, I should say. Yes, The View explodes when Meghan McCain denies Joy Behar to her face. Now, before I get into this report, please do make sure that you are still subscribed to our channel with notifications turned on. And if this is your first time viewing, go ahead and tap that subscribe button down below and be sure to hit that notification bell. 100% Fed Up reports that The View co-host Joy Behar, or I should say co-cluck, was discussing Robert Francis O'Rourke dropping out of the 2020 presidential campaign. Oh, so sad. So sad. Robert Francis is gone. Well, she was discussing it when she commented on Robert Francis' call for a gun ban. Quote, They should not tell everyone what they're going to do. If you're going to take people's guns away, wait until you get elected and then take them away. Don't tell them ahead of time. Can you believe that? That's what Joy Behar is spouting on The View. And then Meghan McCain had a perfect comeback to Behar's comment. Quote, by the way, that's what people like me think you're going to do, so I appreciate his honesty. Watch.
Go ahead. No, I mean, and I'm sick, so just like, but I'm not contagious, so just give me a second. I will say that that's why I wasn't here on Friday. Beta, when my husband told me that he got out of the race, I think he's actually like a beta test for why going national so quickly and being beloved by the media is always dangerous. I said that when he came on here with the Vanity Fair cover. He raised $80 million. Obama was publicly drawing comparisons to him, like saying like he's like me, and he got a ton of Obama staff. I will also say that his stance on gun buybacks, Mayor Pete said it was a shiny object that distracts from achievable gun reform. Chris Coons said it wasn't a wise policy or move, and that clip will be played for years at Second Amendment with rallies with organizations that try and scare people by saying that Democrats are coming for your guns. He also made some statements about religious institutions being getting their tax exempt status removed from them because if they didn't support same-sex marriage. So he did a lot of like battleground culture war, and he ran as the most left, most woke candidate, and look where he ended. One of the first out of the race.
They should not tell everything they're going to do. Like if you're going to take people's guns away, wait till you get elected, then take the guns away. Don't tell them ahead of time.
By the way, that's what people like me think you're gonna do. That's what people like me think is gonna happen. So I appreciate his honesty.
That's exactly because you're saying don't be concerned, but it sounds.
No, I didn't say don't be concerned. I said calm down because everybody wants the answer now, and it's just not going to come overnight.
I think
you have to do the work.
I'm not going to listen to any more of that guy. He's a little bit annoying. I should have skipped past him to begin with. Anyhow, the Amalam piece reads, Joy Behar revealed a key piece of the Progressive Project to her listeners on 4th November 2019. She advised politicians who want to confiscate guns from U.S. citizens to deceive the voters so the politicians could get elected, then confiscate the guns. To the left, this is nothing controversial. The whole point of progressivism is the electorate is too stupid and ignorant to govern themselves. They believe the purpose of an elite is to deceive the governed through manipulation of the information they receive and controlling the narrative so as to allow the elite to keep power and govern as they wish. The purpose of the media is to be the gatekeepers of the information flow and to create the desired narratives. But Behar violated an important progressive rule. Do not tell the victims of the con that they're being conned. From FoxNews.com, politicians seeking to confiscate guns from Americans shouldn't share their plans with the public beforehand and should seek to maintain an element of surprise, Joy Behar said on The View Monday. Behar was discussing former 2020 presidential hopeful Beto O'Rourke, a Democrat from Texas, and said it was foolish of him to announce his plans for gun confiscation before he was elected. She advised all politicians to go after the country's guns after they've assumed office. They should not tell everything they're going to do. If you're going to take people's guns away, wait until you get elected. Then take the guns away, she said. Don't tell them ahead of time. One of the many problems with the Progressive Project is its real reliance on false premises. The progressives put forward the narrative that experts were far better suited to govern the country than politicians selected by voters. But if you have a policy preference, you can easily find experts to validate it. There are experts on every side of every issue. It is not hard to create the experts to give you studies to push whatever policy you want. If you control academia and the educational system, it's even easier. But truth is a powerful antidote. No matter how many millions of dollars of Bloomberg or the UN or U.S. governmental agencies pour into creating the experts and research to validate their preferred policies, objective reality exists. It only takes a small amount of bandwidth to allow countervailing facts or interpretations of agreed-on facts to discredit mountains of experts and studies. The progressives have no problem with deception because they have no foundational ethics except the drive to political power. Government is their god. The embrace of deception is there for anyone who wishes to study progressive theory. Most people do not have the time or inclination to do the reading. Behar made the mistake of allowing a peek behind the curtain to a wide audience. Conservatives, on the other hand, are more constrained. They agree, in principle, that lying and deception of the electorate is bad. It undermines the base premise of the American system of self-government and limited government. It is the main reason for the divide between conservatives and progressives on the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment directly limits governmental power. That is its prime purpose. Shall not infringe is a direct, clear limit on governmental authority. This enrages progressives. It is a direct affront to their entire philosophy. 20% of voters believe limits on government or power are immoral. It's no coincidence that 20% of voters believe that owning a gun is immoral as well. It explains why progressives do not do the obvious, embrace the Second Amendment, and win election after election. To do so, they would be contradicting their own core principle and particularly stymieing their long-term strategy of destroying the gun culture through cutting off salami slices of the Second Amendment until nothing is left. To progressives, the idea of allowing a limit on the government is evil. Progressives, or the left in general, will claim limiting the government is to limit the ability to do good. But all the great disasters in governments around the world in the last century claimed they were using power to achieve the greater good. Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao, Castro, Chavez, Hitler, Mussolini, Roosevelt, Churchill, and al-Baghdadi all claimed to be pursuing the greater good. Conservatives, on the other hand, see nothing wrong with the Second Amendment. It is simply another check and balance to governmental power, part of the social contract of the Constitution between the people and the government. Government must be limited to assure personal freedom. As the media fragments, allowing more viewpoints to be heard, progressive power will decrease. Since the middle 1960s at least, it has depended on its overwhelming ability to control the narrative. Joy Behar did not do the Progressive Project any favors by exposing its embrace of deception. I think Mr. Weingarten hit the nail on the head multiple times there. You know, the entire strategy of progressivism is built on deception. It's built on lies. The entire strategy, more specifically to this show, of the anti-Second Amendment crowd is built on deceptions and lies. So her saying that only surprises me in just as Beta's strategy surprised me in that they're admitting it. Discuss, please. You gentlemen have any thoughts?
They've admitted it forever. You know, it's I don't know. It's really frustrating because all I can think of is what I say all the time. I understand Joy Behar wanting to put a chain around your neck and make you her slave. I get that because powerful people love power. I get all that. But what I don't understand is when the people walk up in a big old line and say, "Here I am," and make me your slave. That's what I don't get is people who freely and willingly just give up their lives to government, whatever. It makes me think of the whole royal blood thing. Somewhere along the line, some dude was sitting around a table with his buddies talking about, we got to come up with a reason to make these people think that I'm like God. Oh, we'll tell them we have royal blood. There's no such thing as royal blood.
I was talking with a guy at work that's younger than me, and he doesn't like the idea of merit raises. He likes cost of living raises. And he's always talking about how they used to get quarterly bonuses, and now we only get bonuses twice a year.
Is he lazy?
And yeah, that's just it. He doesn't want to get a raise. Say the cost of living raise was 50 cents a year. But if you really work hard, your boss might be able to give you a 75-cent raise because you're a hard worker. He'd rather just get the 50-cent raise automatically and not have to work any harder. And he'd rather get those bonuses on a regular basis that he can count on as opposed to coming in on overtime. He always turns down overtime, but he's always on the lookout for that bonus check. Because a bonus check you don't have to do anything extra for, whereas the overtime you have to give up your free time. Another thing him and I have discussed, and I've just learned to walk away, is that he thinks that the European and Canadian healthcare is better because it's government run and it's free. And if we had that, then we just wouldn't have to pay all that money for health insurance and stuff like that. We wouldn't pay doctor bills anymore. And I'm like, yeah, we'd also
everybody
pay
just
like
be paying an 85% tax rate.
Yeah, crazy tax rate, and you'd be waiting 6 months to get an MRI. And he just doesn't get it. It's like, look, this is America. This is a land of opportunity, but the opportunities were never supposed to be handed to you. You have the chance to make something of yourself here with hard work and determination and the American spirit and decent values. You can make something, even if you get knocked down again and again and again. How many failed businesses, how many people have had, failed business before they finally get successful, and all these other stories. And I was thinking about him with regard to this whole, people want to be told what to do. I think he would follow whoever would just give him that 50 cents automatically, no matter how hard he worked. I think he would follow whoever would just give him free health care, no matter how much in taxes they took out of him, because he wouldn't. I'm wondering if there's just that many people with that sort of mentality. They're so lazy. They have no ambition. They'll take what the government gives them as long as they don't have to do anything. If they don't have to leave home, whatever. They're just. I get so frustrated with people who have no ambition. I judge other people by my standards, which some people might say is too high. But I mean, I'm not. I'm nobody. But still, I work hard for everything I've got, and I don't want to be told what to do. I'd rather have the freedom to make my choices, good or bad. And if I make a mistake, I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to go to the government to fix it. I'm going to fix it myself. I'm not going to expect my friends or people who feel sorry for me to fix it. I'm going to fix it because in this country, you can do that. It's not like some socialist country where you can't. You don't have the. And I guess it's just people are getting lazy and dumb. And I think they're dumb not because of the education system or anything. I think they're dumb because as long as they can just get by, as long as they can, give a great amount of curve or do whatever and just get by the bare minimum, then they don't have to think. And if they don't have to think, they're going to be dumb. Like they're being dumb because they're lazy, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
They're so lazy they don't want to think.
It's easier to allow someone else to tell you what to do. And
kind of.
In a way, progressivism is freedom for those who are governed, because you're free from the responsibility for anything because, well, you're not the one making the decisions. You're free to do whatever you're being told because you don't have the responsibility of governing yourself. You're free from that burden. Somebody else will take care of it for you. Rest assured. Sounds like the strategy of stupidity.
He doesn't think about the fact that if the government ran everything, everybody'd have the exact same house. We'd all drive the same car. We'd all watch the same TV shows. We'd all have to wear the same clothes.
Everything would be equally shitty, though.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. He'd be like, no, I want a faster car. Nope, can't have it. Government says it's not safe.
Yep.
I want a bigger house. Nope, government says you can't do that because it creates too much of a carbon footprint. I want to watch something other than BBC 1, 2, and 3. Oh, sorry, government runs the TV, and this is what they think you should watch. That's what happens when you get lazy and give that stuff up, when you let somebody else make the decisions for you. And I can't fathom America ever being like that, but it could.
Well, as I said, it sounds like the strategy of stupidity. And speaking of stupidity, we're going to move on to our newest segment, Moron of the Week.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
This week, there's no tie here, so no bracket to do. This one is a clear winner chicken dinner. This is a piece from BearingArms.com by Bob Owens from November 3rd, 2016. What the hell? I guess I'm the moron of the week. Why? I'm hoping that is a typo on their part. Because, yeah, this popped up in my feed. So I'm assuming that's a typo. It's actually from November 3rd, 2019. Anyhow, the parents of this dead robber are really mad his victim had a gun. The parents of a dead armed robber are very angry over his death and are demanding to know why his innocent victim was allowed to be armed. It's been a difficult week for parents Tamia Hairston and Michael Grace Sr. Their son, Michael Grace Jr., was shot and killed during an attempted robbery early Sunday morning. Police said Grace Jr. and 2 other people tried to rob a Pizza Hut in the 3200 block of Freedom Drive. During the incident, an employee fired his own handgun and killed Grace Jr. Hairston said she learned of her son's death on social media and only got confirmation from police after contacting him first. The grieving mother said that she'd been left with dozens of questions about the situation that have thus far gone unanswered. If there was to be a death, it was not the place of the employee at Pizza Hut. That's the place of law enforcement, said Hairston. The parents are angry that their son was shot and killed by an employee. They don't believe the full story has been released to the public. Why in the hell did this guy have a gun? Questioned Hairston about the employee who shot her son. She said her son was shot in the head, and she thinks the shooting may have been personal, citing past conflicts Grace Jr. had with other employees at the restaurant. This wasn't a body shot, this was a head shot. My son was shot in the left side of his head, just behind his ear. A headshot is personal, said Hairston. I think pointing a gun at somebody and telling them to give you everything that they have is pretty personal, too. Even though their son was in the process of committing a crime, the family thinks his death was undeserved and unjustified. Hairston said that she thinks the employee who shot her son needs to be in jail and wants all parties involved in the situation to be honest about what happened. Really? You want honesty, Tamia Hairston? I'll give you honesty. The honest truth, Tamia Hairston, is that every human being is born with the natural human right to arm themselves for the defense of their lives from both rogue governments and violent criminals. Your dead thug of a son was one of 3 vile human predators who obtained deadly weapons and put the lives of innocent people at risk and likely would have ended their lives without a second thought over the petty contents of a restaurant cash drawer. Here's some more honesty for you. It is not the role of law enforcement to protect individual lives. This is immutable truth, that which is also both a practical fact and a legal reality. One person and one person alone is responsible for defending your life against violent predators, and that person is the individual. This Pizza Hut employee respected his own life enough to arm himself, and it proved to be a wise decision. Your son, Michael Grace Jr., and his accomplices were committing violent armed felony when the employee drew his lawfully concealed weapon and opened fire to defend not only his life, but the lives of other employees in the store. Ms. Hairston, you then complained that the bullet that struck your son behind the ear during the ensuing firefight was personal. Ma'am, preying on your fellow human beings is incredibly personal, even if armed robbery seemed to be your son's idea of business. Would you have been mollified if the Pizza Hut employee had put a controlled pear through his heart instead? I think not. At the core of it, your complaint is that your son was killed committing a crime, and you don't seem to think that he deserved it, even as he callously and intentionally put numerous other lives at risk. You're wrong. The Pizza Hut employee had the right to defend his life and the lives of others against the violent actions of your predator son. Your son chose to be a violent criminal and earned the bullet that ended his life.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
And I don't care, maybe that was from 2016. She deserved it. She deserved to be the moron this week. And that's a fact.
Yeah, that's entirely her fault. Yeah, I get it. The dude's an individual. He's going to do what he's going to do regardless. But that's mama's fault right there. You raised a dirtbag, and you probably raised him knowing he was a dirtbag, and you probably are a dirtbag yourself.
That is probably an accurate series of statements there. I have no doubt. Let's see who out here in the Guitar Man Pete says a headshot is hard. I commend the defender who won. That's awesome. Midnight Range TM said this show's getting fancy. Well, yeah, I try, you know. Gun-toting pacifist says that was a lot fancier than I'm used to. Roll call says do that intro again. Well, yes, well, I did. So there you go, folks. Did you like that intro? I think I might do a little outro too, because instead of just play the intro twice.
You might want to turn the volume up on it next time, but yeah, I like it.
The volume
then again, on our side, it might not be as loud as it is on the YouTube side. So
yeah, I'll have to see if that was, see what that is, what that's like on the replay. But yeah, I should do a little intro for this one too. Dang it! But time to move on to Roll Call 219's favorite segment, self-defense shoutouts. Self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the prospect that the bad guy has taken a dirt nap. It is where I'm reveling in the prospect that the good guy isn't, because they had the means, method, and opportunity to defend themselves against the bad guy. First up, victim of violent home invasion speaks. Credits wife with saving his life with AR-15. This is from Spectrum News 9, from BayNews9.com. Yeah. By Dave Jordan, Hillsborough County, published on November 1st. Lithia, Florida. The bruises and swelling on Jeremy King's face tell the story of a man on the receiving end of a brutal attack, but his actual account is far more harrowing than his injuries suggest. I've got a fractured eye socket, a fractured sinus cavity, a concussion, 20 stitches, and 3 staples in my head, said King, outside his home on Old Welcome Road in Lithia. I took a severe beating. Yeah, no shit. King said he was inside his home Wednesday when 2 masked men armed with guns barged in around 9 p.m. He said he doesn't know who they are, never met them, and has no idea why he was targeted. Both men pointed guns at King while demanding money. They came in heavily hooded and masked. As soon as they got the back door open, they had a pistol on me and was grabbing my 11-year-old daughter, he said. I'm telling them, I have nothing for you, King explained, and they're like, give me everything you got. It became real violent, real fast. King said one of the men started pistol whipping him while another kicked him repeatedly in the head. His wife, who is 8 months pregnant, was in the back bedroom and peeked out to see what was going on. King said one of the men shot at her. She retreated, grabbed an AR-15, and returned fire. When he came toward the back door in her line of sight, she clipped him, King said. He made it from my back door to roughly 200 feet out in the front ditch before the AR did its thing. Deputies later found a man dead in a nearby ditch. The other gunman ran off after that fatal shot was fired. Them guys came in with 2 normal pistols and my AR stopped it, King said. My wife evened the playing field and kept them from killing me. Investigators are still looking for the second gunman. Freaking standing outcome to that. She definitely gets a shout out because, man, that is absolutely awesome. Guitar Man Pete says, yes, this is why we take the wives to the range, guys. Absolutely right. That's what those who say that no one needs an AR-15 to defend themselves, I call bullshit on that.
I say AR-15, you got the modularity, you have the fit, you have the ease of use, you have low recoil, you have everything that makes a phenomenal self-defense firearm for almost anybody. You can buy one gun, fit the entire family, and look, right there you proved it. I mean,
yep.
She used it effectively, and I love the term dirt nap, and put this guy literally in a ditch. So, beautiful.
That's right. She's a keeper for sure. Next up, from WKBW.com, homeowner shoots intruder during alleged home invasion. From November 6, 2019. Genesee County, New York, WKBW. Police in Genesee County are investigating after a homeowner shot an intruder during an alleged home invasion. The Genesee County Undersheriff says 36-year-old Charles Cooper forced his way into a home on Clinton Street Road overnight, appeared to be in possession of a gun, and demanded cash from the homeowner. The 76-year-old homeowner tells 7 Eyewitness News, geez, it's like I can't read tonight, tells 7 Eyewitness News it was shortly after 9 p.m. he heard a knock at the door. He says the man, wearing a ski mask, pushed him and forced his way inside. He had the gun in my face, the man said. The homeowner says the suspect then asked the couple to move to the back mudroom. The homeowner went first, knowing he had a double-barrel shotgun in the room. I hurried up and went down. He didn't follow me right away. I backed up against the wall, reached up and got the shotgun. I put it behind me. He couldn't see it. He turned around, dropped his money, and he reached down and I shot from the hip. He went down, the homeowner said. The homeowner says his wife called 911. Cooper was airlifted to Strong Memorial Hospital. He is listed in critical condition. Police say the homeowner's long gun was legally owned. This is a developing story. Check back for additional information. So good for him. Good for him. Even though it was a FUD gun, it too could be pressed into service to defend yourself.
I just hope that he took like the old Western stance when he fired from his hip. You know what I mean? Like he's that's the way I'm picturing it in my head.
Seven Wonders says, just asking, could my wife not have done the same with my P226 Legion? I guess so, if she was capable of shooting it. Just an AR a rifle is generally easier to shoot accurately than a pistol is. Next up from Fox 59, police domestic situation leads to man's deadly shooting in East Side home. Indianapolis, Indiana. A man was shot to death Monday following what police call a violent domestic disturbance. According to the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, officers were dispatched to a home in the 2600 block of K. Ellen Drive just before 7 a.m. The neighborhood is just east of 25th and Post on Indy's east side. When police arrived, they found Gary Bryant, 27, was shot to death inside the home. Bryant was pronounced dead at the scene. Friends and witnesses who live in the home say Bryant broke into the house and tried to kill his ex-girlfriend. That's when he was shot and killed. Police would only confirm the case appears to involve a domestic relationship. We believe this stemmed from a domestic, so right now we're trying to figure out what took place this morning, said IMPD officer Aaron Hamer. Police say several people were inside the home when the shooting took place, but aside from Bryant, who was killed, no one else got hurt. Investigators say while no arrests have been made, the public is not in any danger and the shooting was not random. We believe that everyone that was involved in the situation has at least been in contact with detectives this morning. I think the important thing is for people to remember that this can happen in their own families, said Catherine O'Connor with the Julian Center. O'Connor says the numbers show domestic violence impacts 1 in every 5 people in Marion County. That's why experts say everyone needs to watch for red flags before domestic relationships turn violent. Screw you and the horse you rode in on with the whole red flag thing, buddy. These situations don't go away, they don't get better, they just get worse over time, says O'Connor. If we see signs something is wrong, we should pay attention to that. Ultimately, it will be up to the prosecutor's office to decide if any criminal charges should be filed. Next up from 6abc.com, armed robbery suspect shot dead by victim he was trying to rob in West Philadelphia. Apparently this guy was up to no good, started making trouble in the neighborhood, and got what he got coming. From November 4th, 2019, Philadelphia, WPVI. A would-be robber is dead after police say he was shot by a victim he was trying to rob on Sunday night. It happened around 8:30 p.m. near 60th and Girard Avenue in West Philadelphia. Police say the suspect, roughly 25 to 30 years old, was attempting to rob a man who was sitting on the front steps of his home at gunpoint. The resident had a license to carry and opened fire on the would-be robber. Police said the victim fired the shots in self-defense. The suspect then ran to the 1200 block of North 60th Street, where he collapsed onto a porch. My girlfriend was like, well, is he breathing? I'm like, I'm not sure, and I called the cops, explained Sharon Christie of West Philadelphia. The injured man was taken to Penn Presbyterian Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. No other injuries were reported. The male kept pointing a gun. One of the times he went to point a gun, the complainant discharged his weapon, said Philadelphia Police Captain Thomas Davidson. He said he discharged it twice, and that would be consistent with 2 shell casings. Police said it is unclear if the 2 men knew each other. He also said it was unclear at this time if there is another suspect present who might have fled. And last but most certainly not least, Colorado homeowner shoots man allegedly trying to break into his home after warning he had a gun. This was published 5 days ago by Travis Fedshun from Fox News. This is, of course, foxnews.com. A homeowner in Colorado shot a man who was allegedly trying to break into his home early Saturday after warning multiple times. What in the freaking ads? Okay. After warning multiple times he had a weapon, according to officials and family members, the Denver Police Department said on Twitter the incident happened around 12:44 a.m. on the 4600 block of Wyandotte Street in the city's Sunnyside neighborhood. The suspect, identified as 25-year-old Aaron Rivers, was attempting to break into the home through the front door. Police told Fox 31 that when Rivers wasn't able to get in through the front door, he began damaging furniture on the porch and broke the front window. When he tried to go through the front window of the home, officials said the homeowner fired his weapon several times at Rivers, striking him in the arm. The 25-year-old was transported to an area hospital with a non-life-threatening injury, according to police. Family members told Fox 31 the homeowner told the suspect to leave several times, warning he had a gun, but the 25-year-old proceeded to break the window and was later shot. I just feel sorry for my neighbors over there. They're a nice couple, and they have a little boy, Kathy Parsons, a neighbor across the street, told the television station. The guy started to try to beat down the front door, and he was afraid he had a gun ready for him to come through. The homeowners told Fox 31 they have no connection to Rivers. The incident is, of course, still under investigation by the police. So there you have it, folks. Several instances where the good guy with the gun did indeed defeat the bad guy with the gun. And that's the way it should be. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by. I'd like to especially thank my esteemed panel. Jason, is there anything that you'd like to leave us with? Words of wisdom? Anything you'd like to plug? Where can people find you?
Hey, Spoon CCW on YouTube and Facebook, or spoonccw.com. That's SPHONSCCW.com. Thanks for having us on the show, Mike.
Hey, no problem, man. You are always welcome. Kingpin, is there anything you would leave us with, sir, from behind enemy lines there in Maryland?
Yeah, don't Maryland your state. Thanks for having me, brother.
No problem. And, of course, the irascible yet lovable Squibload. Was there anything you'd like to leave us with? Anything you'd like to plug?
No, just Liberty. Everybody have a good weekend.
And there you have it, folks. Liberty. I'd like to thank everybody out there in the chat. Again, always humbled and amazed that you're spending this time watching me blather on. Thank you so much. Seeing you guys out there makes this worth doing for sure. I'm going to be a shameless self-promoting whore and plug my shirt. You guys like it? It's one of my designs in my Spreadshirt shop. Go check it out. I will put a link in the chat. Because, again, shameless self-promoting whore. So that's it, folks. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to leave you with the same admonition I leave you with every week. In these dark and dangerous times, tell your Congress critters and In these dark and dangerous times, tell your Congress critters and elected representatives what you think. Let them know that they are not going to get away with trying to take your Second Amendment rights. Send them snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, carrier pigeons, bicycle messengers, smoke signals, drum messages. Do whatever you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. See you guys on the next one.